Hello everyone, I'm Patrick and I'm currently a purple belt in Jiu-Jitsu, as well as a 6th degree black belt in American Tang Soo Do. I own a school called The Edge Martial Arts in Santa Clarita, California, and I want to take you on a journey of a traditional martial artist who's been practicing a karate style for over 20 years and is currently jumping into the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Now, I've been training for 6 years, but only recently started competing. Last year was my first competition as a blue belt, and I was promoted in March of last year. I've had one competition as a purple belt, but I'm preparing for another one this upcoming March. And I'm going to take you along as I prepare for this upcoming tournament. Before we talk more about that, let's take a look at some footage of my previous tournament, my first tournament actually, as a blue belt last year. This is a local BJJ tournament in Los Angeles, and this is the middleweight division, so I think the bracket is 167 to 181, and this is the match for gold. My opponent is definitely bigger than me. I would say probably had about 10, maybe even 15 pounds on me, because I came in underweight. I think I was 164, and the cutoff again was 181. So I wanted to be aggressive and test his base, which caused him to pull guard. That was kind of the plan, just to be a little bit aggressive there, and it worked. But he managed to get this little hook in around my ankle, and I had a lot of trouble for the first minute or so getting around that hook. I wasn't worried or panicking. I knew I had a lot of time, and I managed to get almost past his guard here, but my hips were way too high, and I was controlling the bottom leg. I should have been controlling the top leg. I made 2 adjustments to try and finally get past this guard, and one was to put a lot more shoulder pressure and forehead pressure into his chin there, which caused him to open up, and I managed to get to this north-south position. He still has his knee in, so I haven't scored any points yet. I'm going to keep circling towards his head. As soon as I realize I haven't scored my points and the knee pops out, I get my guard passing points there for 3. I felt that I could definitely stick this knee in and do a knee ride here, so I got my other 2 points. And as soon as I secured those points, I popped over into mount. And this is kind of how the rest of the match played out. With me on mount, I felt his power when he bridged, so I was really just concerned with making sure that I kept control and didn't let him use kind of the famous big guy technique of bridge and roll against someone who's a little bit smaller than you. I wanted to keep my hips low and control his head, and making sure that I wasn't sitting over his hips and can take away a little bit of that power as he bridged. That's why I'm up higher in his armpits there with my knees. After the match, of course, I was excited to win one of my first competitions, but I really wished I had been more aggressive in going for the finish and wasn't content to just ride out the points win. That ended up hurting me in my next match as a purple belt, and you'll see what happens when we go to the next tournament clip here, why I feel like I'm definitely going to be more aggressive on my upcoming tournament in March. So I just competed in this one. This is the same organization. In my first tournament as a purple belt, my opponent, his name is Rainier, and he's a super experienced competitor. He competes, I want to say, almost every month, including the Masters Worlds. So he has a lot more experience than me, and I think that's what ended up giving him the edge in this match. You'll see here that we're exchanging stand-up techniques, trying to get our preferred grips. And interestingly, he has a Muay Thai base, which is going to become relevant against my kind of more karate style, because in Muay Thai, obviously, they do a lot of trips like you see here. And that ends up giving him the edge later in this match. But as we begin here, I'm both trying to establish our grips. I'm looking for my own takedowns, but really I'm trying to be more of a counter wrestler. That seems to be more my strength. I rely a lot on my athleticism, for better or for worse, and that's something I'm going to be adjusting after rewatching this tournament and really thinking about the experience. Trying to be more aggressive in my own takedowns rather than relying on my ability to scramble against someone else's takedowns. And here's a perfect example of what I mean. When he goes for that outside trip, I managed to get my arm free and almost take his back here, but I end up getting stuck in half guard, and a big mistake here is I walk my leg over towards his other leg, getting myself caught in lockdown. Now, I didn't have any coach, unfortunately, this tournament, so in my mind, I was up 2 points here for a takedown, but it's not a takedown. It was more of a reversal for his. So I didn't end up scoring anything, end up being almost like a guard pull for him. But in my mind, I was up 2 points and I was content to really just to sit on those 2 points and maintain my position here. He was looking constantly to dig under my leg for a sweep. And I didn't realize until about a minute and a half left when the ref warned us that we were going to go to overtime because the score was tied 0-0. But by then, I didn't have enough time to really free myself and extract my leg. So time ran out in regulation, and we ended up standing back up in overtime. And that's my second takeaway from this match, and what I'm going to make big adjustments for the next one for my competition in March. And that's, I need to be more mentally resilient. I thought I was up, I thought I was winning, I was on top for the whole match, but I didn't pass his guard, I didn't get the takedown, so it was tied. And this fatigued me mentally. Watching this footage back, I didn't even attempt a single takedown in overtime. And how are you going to win when you don't even try? So Rainier did an excellent job of establishing his grips again and making the adjustments. He had control of my sleeve here, my right sleeve, as you can see. And as he goes for this outside trip again, I'm not able to scramble out, and he puts me on my back. That's 2 points for him, and that's the win in overtime. So what did we learn from this experience? This entire tournament experience at Purple Belt really put into my mind something that one of my other main coaches, Sergio Machado, says constantly to our class. And that's, if you're not attacking, you're defending. And if you're defending, you're losing. And this tournament is a perfect example of that. Even when I managed to reverse his takedown, even when I managed to get on top, I was still in a defensive mindset. I was content to sit there in his half guard, not really making any attempts to pass, sitting there and defending his attempts to sweep. When we were on the feet, I was looking to counter. I was looking to use timing to go against his attacks, and it ended up costing me the match. But that's the value of competing in these tournaments, right? If I was just training and I never put myself out there in competition, this is not a realization that I would have come to as quickly, or maybe not at all. And to me, that's one of the most valuable aspects of training jiu-jitsu, and one of the main reasons why I started this channel. You know, I've been a black belt in American Tong Sudo since the year 2000, so over 20 years, and I've been training since 1996. Becoming a white belt again has been one of the most valuable things I could have done for me professionally as a martial arts instructor, and simply just for me as a human. And my hope is that this channel will help inspire some of my students. I have a lot of students anywhere from ages 4 to 64. And I always encourage them to try different martial arts, whether that's my jiu-jitsu students trying our karate program or vice versa. There's so much value in being a beginner in something again. And I think especially as adults, we get so used to being, for lack of a better term, a master at something, putting in our 10,000 hours, that we get comfortable at being comfortable. And it's only through putting ourselves in these uncomfortable positions, like me competing in these tournaments after being a black belt for 20 years in a different martial art, that I've really taken hold of some of these new lessons and relearned some of these old lessons that I had long forgotten. And I thank you all for coming along on this journey with me, and I look forward to showing you more of my training as I get ready for this next tournament, where I hope I learn some new lessons again.